Hi, it's Andy.
It's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Okay, welcome to the A.D.K channel. Before we get into the first video, we're just going to give you a quick breakdown of how we do it on the channel. So, of course, remember with our videos, there is no pausing, there is no talking. The only person that knows what video is coming up is myself. So Andy and Kirk have no idea what video I've picked for them. Some of these videos I may have seen myself in advance, but at least Andy and Kirk won't have, or I assume they won't have. We'll give our honest opinion at the end. So we treat it very much like if you're a radio listener or you heard it in a bar or something like that. It's your first time hearing a song, watching a video, and we will give our honest opinions about what we feel about them. Obviously, if it's a band that we've seen before, we will have a little bit more context behind that. But without further ado, we're going to go check in today's first video.
This workout 5 minutes or more.
Lanziamo!
Okay, there we go. So that is Pantera, 5 minutes alone from their recent Heaven and Hell headlining performance. So obviously it's quite topical because the YouTube got flooded with these yesterday because they performed it 24 hours ago was their headlining set. So lots and lots and lots of videos came on, and I saw the Cowboys from Hell video, which almost triggered me when I saw it, because all I saw was them launching and about 1,000 mobile phones stuck up in the air. And I just went, this isn't a Pantera concert. This I remember Pantera concerts. There wasn't 1,000 mobile phones stuck up in the air. It was brutal. It was intense. And before I go any further with my thoughts about this performance, I'm going to let Kirk take the lead on this and tell me what you thought about it.
Yeah, my YouTube page was also flooded with the Pantera reunion shows. And I also watched that Cowboys from Hell video. It was very poor quality. They've just headlined a gig in Mexico, haven't they? And it's great to see Anselmo and Rex uniting under the Pantera banner. Charlie Benante of Anthrax on drums, good choice. And then I think it was the obvious choice to get Zakk Wylde in because of the work he's done, obviously, with Ozzy Osbourne, but more importantly, Black Label Society, that has some of that southern fried heavy metal in there, doesn't it? So he's ideal fretting those pinch harmonics that the great Dimebag Darrell was famous for. I love that song, iconic song. It's I don't know if you two are aware, the background of that song, Pantera were playing a show in the early 90s and they had a heckler who was persistent throughout the gig. And Phil Anselmo didn't do much to discourage Pantera fans from beating the shit out of this guy in the audience. And then his father, I think, tried to take a lawsuit out against the band. So Phil Anselmo wrote this song, 5 minutes alone, which leaves nothing to the imagination.
Fair enough.
5 minutes alone with this cat and I will fucking murder him is basically the message. I love the riffs in this. Listen to that breakdown riff at the end. Bear in mind, this is 1994. Look how influential that alone has been, certainly on modern metalcore. It's interesting as well how they're using pentatonic rock riffs, but it's heavy as fuck, especially just how they're doing those boneheaded down-picking palm mutes, in the main verse, and the onomatopoeia of the guitars and vocals just interlock, don't they? That is absolutely brutal when you listen to the studio version. So I think that's what made Pantera unique. The fact that they could still have this ZZ Top sound and bring in hardcore. And then obviously they pioneered what we now know as groove metal, which is essentially post-thrash metal, isn't it? It's thrash from the 80s slowed down. So it's like you've moved from speed to steroids and they've down-tuned the guitars and it's just as heavy. Doesn't need to be fast. So you can still hear, certainly in Cowboys from Hell, the thrash roots. I don't think you hear them as much on that album, which is surely one of the heaviest albums ever to reach #1 on the Billboard charts in America, Far Beyond Driven. 4 classic singles, there's some great songs on that, one of the best albums of the 90s. Sound-wise, that is some dude on the camera phone, isn't it? So you can't really hear too much of what's going on. So I don't think I'll be judging him harshly on that. Phil Anselmo, last thing I'll say, I thought his voice was excellent. He's still got all the inflections, got the aggression, but also he's got the versatility as well, hasn't he? And the further they went in the 90s, he seemed to be adapting even more of an extreme metal style. Clearly, he's never going to do that Rob Halford Judas Priest pastiche again like we hear on Cemetery Gates, which is remarkable, to be fair, because that doesn't go with his tough guy image, does it? But really enjoyed it. Obviously, I want to see a professional recording of this live tour, and I'm not going to get it watching that on a camera phone.
Andy, what did you think?
Be honest, I'm a bit out of touch with what was going on. I mean, I noted down that that's going to be a recent show because Anselmo barely moved from his spot, did he? I recognise Zakk Wylde. Yeah, it makes sense now. You say it's a reunion show that happened in the last day or two. I mean, I'll pick up on your point, Dave. Towards the end, particularly, sort of middle part of the video, you notice the first few rows of the audience. They're quite low down to the stage, and it's just a sea of white lights recording the show. And I think it just reminded me of, as you say, not a metal show, not a Pantera show, sort of thing my daughter would go to when she watches the Vamps. The sort of thing you see the audience members doing there. But we wouldn't be reviewing the video if people didn't record it on a camera phone.
That is one of the points I was going to raise. Yeah,
I'm thinking, well, why are these people? Why are they sitting watching the show and enjoying it, and why are they recording it and looking it through the screen of their phone? But then we're doing exactly the same by doing this reaction video.
The irony. Yes.
Not a huge Pantera fan, although ironically enough, they are actually my top 5 Spotify artists this year, because I have, listened to a few albums, listened to a few playlists. But they should be a band that I got into when they were out. I mean, I've only heard them really from the music videos, the singles that come off those classic albums. But yeah, I really like Pantera. It's a strange thing for me to say so far down the track. Yeah, and like you, Kirk, I'd like to see, a professional recording of sort of these recent shows. But yeah, I'm all for bands, carrying on the legacy. That they're only 50% of the classic lineup, due to the passing of the brothers. But why not carry on? It's not just a cash cow. I hope they're still enjoying it. I hope they're just not just milking in the dollars, but giving people what they want to see. Yeah.
Okay.
Carry on. Yeah, that's it.
I kind of agree with you on that one, Andy. So there's elements that I do agree, and I'm kind of split right down the middle on my thoughts and feelings about this whole show. Okay. And this is because of if you're gonna do a reunion of Pantera, the 2 people they picked with Charlie on drums and Zakk Wylde on guitar makes sense. They're probably the only 2 people that they could have picked that the fans would accept because of their connection already with Pantera. So it made sense to use them. But I think there's still the thing in the back of my head is that if you were going to reform Pantera, you could have done it within the time of Dimebag Darrell and Vinnie Paul. And that they never wanted that, or Phil never wanted to connect that way before. They couldn't reconcile their differences. But as soon as the brothers have passed, it feels like a cash grab.
Oh, you do, right?
And I don't feel that if anyone's going there thinking they're going to get the Pantera experience, this is not a Pantera experience to me. This is a tribute show.
Yeah.
For me, they played the songs brilliantly, and I listened to all the notes. And Charlie he's spot on. I've listened to multiple tracks from that live performance, and he's had to make sure he has learnt those tracks perfectly. And they are album perfect for drums. Sound brilliant. Zakk sounds great on guitars. Rex does what he needs to. I've heard some of the tracks with backing vocals. All sounds brilliant. Phil sounds the best I've heard him in years. And I've heard him doing some of these songs with, was it Phil and the Illegals? So when he's done it with them, I've heard him doing multiple versions of these songs, like 5 Minutes Alone. And he sounded good, but he has actually gone and put the work in to make sure he could go back to album standards. So I remember Pantera before they broke up, was it 2002, 2004, around that era, when he had his long hair and he couldn't hardly move because his back problems, and he was just slurring all the time, and he just didn't put the work in. Now he's got back to a really good quality live performance. But there was a complete lack of energy. You watch it and you're just like, they're kind of in their zones, they're in their spots, and they're singing it, and it sounds great, but I'm not connecting any energy off of them. I'm not getting any energy off the band, which means I'm not putting any energy back into the performance myself as far as an audience watcher. Yeah, we've got the fat people with the camera phones filming it, which is useful for us to watch it. But I found I did the same sort of thing for years, go to concerts and you held your phone up. And then I realized, I think the last time I did that was Pitch Shifter a few years ago. And I started doing it, and I was doing this at the back with my camera up like that, going, this is awesome. And I'm like, actually, I'm not experiencing the gig at all. I'm just sitting here with my phone trying to capture it so that I can watch it again later. But I'm here now. I was like, I've got to put my phone away. I've just got to enjoy myself. Sod that. Someone else is filming it. Let them do it. I'm just going to enjoy myself in the moment. And that's what I kind of got a little bit concerned about. Is it's going to happen. Everyone wants to capture that moment. But I don't know. I feel like it's watering down the impact of what Pantera is. To me, Pantera was this band that you were never going to get a chance to see again. And you talked about in like whispered circles, like if you wanted to see a band in their heyday, you should have seen Pantera when they just tore it up off of their earlier albums when they were doing Cowboys from Hell and stuff like that, or Vulgar Displayer. And then you could talk about it. You could watch some of those old live performances and you were like, wow, that's intense. But now what I'm worried about is people are going to search for Pantera and this is what they're going to think Pantera is.
Yeah.
I
And
disagree with that, Dave. I don't think it's a cash grab. I'll give you an example. I think they're doing it for the right reasons, Anselmo and Rex, certainly Anselmo, because this is all about the expiation of his sins, isn't it? He was responsible for Pantera breaking up. He said some really provocative things about Dimebag Darrell leading up to his death. And there was always that fear that the schizophrenic person who ended up murdering Dimebag Darrell had those vituperative words of Phil Anselmo in his head, which we can never prove, and I don't think we need to go down there. But he wasn't even allowed to go to Dimebag's funeral, was he?
No.
His widow would not allow it. So he has since apologized and said, look, I was a raging junkie at the time. And it's clear he's sincere because they are his brothers. They're both dead now, Vinny and Dimebag. And he's doing it for the right reasons because you just said there, but in a negative way, I think flip the coin. It's so people who didn't get the chance can go and see a tribute to Pantera, and that's not a pejorative term. I'll give you an example. Tom G. Warrior, who I mention in every video, Hellhammer, you know, this great underground band, he tours with that band called Triumph of Death, and he says this is a tribute to Hellhammer because Martin Eric Hain, who was an integral part of the band, has died. So he doesn't think that's a bad thing to promote it as a tribute. And if Phil Anselmo and Rex are doing that, I'm all behind it as a tribute to the two Abbott brothers. So I wouldn't say cash grab. They're all millionaires anyway, aren't they? I mean, Anselmo must be worth probably $20 million.
Here's the question, though. Like, I'm going to interrupt you on that one. But if this is a tribute, then why have the big, massive Pantera sign up there? It's I know they're saying it's our way to tribute it, but they're not listed. They could have said a tribute to Pantera because it's Rex and Phil plus two guys. Now, I agree that there must be some honesty in the fact that Phil has put the demons to bed with the family because Zach wouldn't have been involved. He was such a brother to Darrell that he would never have got involved in this if there was still bad blood there. We know that wouldn't have been the case. So we know that has been put to bed. But I still feel there's something about it that makes me uneasy. And I love Pantera. And that's why I'm and I think there is a ball camp about this. People are just saying, well, just enjoy it for what it is. And I'm struggling slightly with that to enjoy it for what it is because of what I have seen of Pantera when I got to see them. And I don't know. Maybe over time, maybe I'll let it go over time, but I'm still not quite sure at the moment.
Could they not just name themselves after a famous album or song? And then you'd have known that it's a tribute. I don't think they could have called themselves Cowboys from Hell. That would have been a ridiculous name, wouldn't it, for the tribute act?
I'd have worked with that. I'd have gone.
Yeah, I mean, you said Tom G. Warrior done Triumph of Death, which I think is a Hellhammer album or track at least. I mean, my thoughts when you were saying about a loving tribute to the band and carrying on the heritage. Well, what about Death? Death to All.
Yes.
You know, what are people's views on that? And going back to you, David, it's an example, an opportunity for people to see Pantera who didn't get the chance back in the day. I think you'd be grossly disappointed if you turned up to that. If you said, I wish I'd seen Pantera back in the day, and you were at that show, you'd come away a little disappointed. It should be a tribute to their memory, not a Pantera reunion tour, Pantera reunion show. Just much like, Death to All. I'm not even sure how many members of the Death band actually feature in that. There's a couple through various incarnations of that, sort of project. But you go there, you're not expecting to see Chuck, James Murphy, Terry Butler, Bill Andrews on drums. You're going to get a bunch of metal musicians who love Death, friends of Chuck from back in the day, honouring him with his songs, playing them to the best of their ability. It's not a Death show, it's a tribute. And maybe sort of Phil Anselmo and Rex or whatever his name should have had that approach. Cowboys of Hell would have worked. Power, as opposed to the big Pantera banner in the background. But
just to wrap that one up from my point as well, they're also going out and support Metallica on Metallica's headlining, but Metallica's big tour of the US and Canada. So they are on the first or second night, they are the main support, which again, you kind of go, that's a big slot to fill. And they've given it to effectively what is a tribute, because it's not, to me, it's not Pantera. It's a Pantera tribute, which The other band is on the other night is what, Five Finger Death Punch, I think is the other one, is the other main support. But my final thought on this is there's going to be debates for years to come when people talk about bands you've seen, and they go, someone's going, yeah, I've seen Pantera. And the answer is, yeah, but did you see the real Pantera or did you see the tribute Pantera? Oh, you saw the tribute. Oh, no, but you didn't see real Pantera then, did you? They're like, yeah, no, I saw it with there's Phil there and Rex and Zach. Well, that's not the real Pantera. You never got the real Pantera experience.
The other brothers are essential.
And I was listening to the drums of Charlie. I'm like, he's played it perfectly, but there's something missing in the swagger. Vinny had a real kind of groove to his playing that it was slightly off. It had a slight swing to when he played. And I was listening to Charlie going, he's trying to replicate that. And it's something that Vinny, when you're trying to play a drummer that's got a very distinctive groove, it's not like metronome precision, but it was just powerful. That's something that you just can't replace. And unfortunately, I think that's missing. There's that swagger, and same with Dimebag. His guitar playing is something very distinct and unique about it. Zach is an amazing guitar player, and he can play note perfect stuff. But you know that's Zach on guitar. It doesn't sound like Dimebag. And I don't think this is Pantera. It's a tribute to Pantera, and a very good tribute to Pantera, but it's not a Pantera show for me. But we'll leave it on that bombshell. We'll probably be the only reactors that have actually given it a kind of a mixed review, I think, because I think a few people I have seen that talked about this are going on about how amazing it is. I don't know. Let's see what people say in the comments down below. See how many people agree with us, or see how many people think it's a great thing. But I think it'd be interesting to see what other people's opinions are on this. Now, as always, if you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. And we will, of course, see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.